Okay, my Latin American brothers and sisters, rise up. We love this show. I love this show. It was so freaking amazing. Okay. Hey guys, today we'll be reacting to something that's closer to my heart. It's basically my childhood. We'll be reacting to how this comedian created the biggest sitcom in the world by the YouTuber Axel, something like that. And this is about El Chavo del Ocho. If you're not, from Mexico or Latin American, you're not gonna know who he is. He's basically one of the greatest comedians that ever lived, in my opinion, of course. And he was basically what I used to watch when I was a kid. He was a very hilarious comedian, and he created one of the most amazing and most iconic show in the Latin American world. So let's get right to it. Let's react to it, and I cannot wait. All right, let's get right into the reaction here.
The history of comedy is long and convoluted, and looking
Yep.
into it, you'll find that the biggest comedians today are influenced by the ones that came before them, going back generation to
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah.
Evolving
That's
from
true.
stage plays to film to television, comedy has thrived. However, in America and in many parts of the world, comedy has found its place in the sitcom. Sitcom stands for situational comedy, which is a definition as broad as its selection, having a wide variety of shows under its umbrella. From I Love Lucy to Rick and Morty, anything is considered a sitcom at this point.
I didn't think
But
Rick
that
and Morty
doesn't
was
mean
a
there aren't
sitcom.
shows that define the genre more specifically. Everyone has heard of or watched shows like Friends, Seinfeld, and The Office.
The
Shows
Office
with
I did
hundreds
watch.
of millions in revenue that give modern day streaming services guaranteed viewers. Shows that are so easily digestible, some people leave it on day and night to use as background noise. And shows
Yeah,
with
I do
huge
that.
cult
I do that a
followings
lot.
that are still very active to this day. But what if I told you that there was a show bigger than all of them?
It's
And
it's
not
so
only
fucking
that,
big.
but one bigger than all of those titans combined.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, El Chavo, bro. Hell yeah.
A show
It's
that has
so
never
freaking
been
good.
replaced and is still viewed daily, a total of 90.
Okay, my Latin American brothers and sisters, rise up. We love this show. I love this show. It was so freaking amazing. Okay, I'll say this. We didn't grow. I grew up very poor. We didn't have a TV. We didn't have anything. The only person that had a TV was my aunt, and we lived right next door to her. And it was one of those little like, I think it was even like what? Let's see, one, two, three, like an 10 inch at max, 10 inch, and a little square TV. And I would go to her house every day around 6 or 7 p.m. I don't know when this show came up. I would go to her house every day and watch this show and Dragon Ball Z, both every single day. I would go there whenever it was airing, and me and my cousin would just bust out laughing at this show and then watch Dragon Ball Z afterwards. It was one of the best nights I could remember. I remember it to this day, and I think I was like 4 or 5 years old when I was doing that. But yeah, it's one of the greatest memories I have when I was a kid, and it's thanks to this show that I have that memory. It's just an amazing show. I can't express it enough how much I love this show, and I hope you guys learned something from watching this. And please go watch it yourself. Did this video, of course, and also hopefully those that don't know this show will finally, will understand where I'm coming from. That this show is the greatest show I've ever seen that has ever made it into television. So let this guy explain it better, and let's continue.
91 million times, becoming one of the most famous daily, a total of 91 million times, becoming one of the most famous programs in the history of television.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I already liked.
Today, I'm going to tell you the story about a show unknown to people outside of Latin America, the man responsible for its billion-dollar price tag, and the story behind its rise to greatness and meteoric fall. This show would come as a result of over 20 years of one man's hard work and talent whose legacy has left an everlasting impression on the hearts of millions of people.
Yep.
This man's name is Chespirito.
Chespirito. Yep. I forgot his real name. I don't know if that's his real name.
Chespirito was born Roberto Mario Gomez Bolaños on the 21st of
That's his
February,
name. There we go.
1929 in Mexico City. Roberto's early life seemed relatively normal, even with crime, gang activity, and political unrest beginning to increase as his participation in sports like soccer and boxing kept him on the straight and narrow and away from trouble during his younger years. Mexico after World War II saw drastic social, economic, and political changes. Political changes stemming from the dominant party's policies, instituting a protectionist import substitution economy, leading to a closing off from foreign markets, making Mexican businesses extremely reliant on governmental contracts, helping with social welfare programs and helping the economy grow, but also causing an insane amount of corruption. Some of the good
There's
things
still
that came with this
there's so much corruption over there. There's so much.
exponential growth was the rapid development in industrialization and urbanization. What would follow is higher living standards for people who moved to these modern areas, and the replacing of radio with television.
Clock Clock sería Nor Suiza porque sí es de pollo.
After dropping out of college, he took a copywriting
Dropped
job
out?
at an advertising agency when he was 22, where he specialized in broadcast media, and by the mid-1950s, he had worked his way to writing scripts for TV and film. From the beginning, he worked on comedy, and for the next 20 years, he would write for some of the most famous shows and movies that Mexico had to offer. Movies like Cómicos y Canciones, and programs like El Estudio de Pedro Vargas. Developing his skills and
I don't know
earning
any of
his
these.
nickname that's a
Like, all of this was before my time. Like, this is way, way before my time.
play on Chespirito, or Little Shakespeare, recognizing his talents
Oh,
and
hold
the
on, what
play
did he
on
say?
Estudio de Pedro Vargas, developing his skills and earning his famous nickname that's a play on Chespirito, or Little Shakespeare, recognizing his talents and writing abilities, as well as making fun of his height, coming in at 5 foot 4 inches, because what's more fitting than a comedian
That's almost
having
my
a
height.
joke for a name? In 1968, Gomez would finally get his own show after TIM, a television upstart attempting to compete with the big names in the broadcasting space, would take a chance and make a comedy show their signature program, as opposed to the popular telenovela with Chespirito. These 40-minute episodes of sketch comedy would cement Chespirito's talented name as a writer and comedian, as he found immense success through it, where we would see his famous personalities like El Chapulín Colorado, Dr. Chapatín, Chaparrón Bonaparte, and his most famous character, El Chavo del Ocho, for the first time.
Hell yeah.
His characters stole the show, as protagonists tend to do, and people would come to love them more and more over the years, and the success of this show would lead to the one he's most known for a few years later.
Okay, I don't know why that guitar thing skit just made me laugh so hard. Why is something so simple as that making me laugh? I have no fucking idea, bro.
Year after year, he finds himself
I think it's
blowing
just the
ratings
character
out of the
itself.
water.
I think it's because his face just looks so stupid. And you're like, you expect him to do something like that.
And funny enough, this would only be the start of Chespirito's already huge success. And as the ratings and profits would start to climb, so would the severity of the situation behind closed doors.
Yeah, the drama.
Because what's most fascinating about this time is not what's happening on screen nor behind the scenes, and basically has zero to do with Senor Bolaños himself. Because once we take a deeper look into the business side of things, we'll find the conclusion to an 8-year fight for the control over broadcasting in Mexico, and what I like to call the Secret War.
Secret War.
Mexican TV is a weird and fascinating topic, as I'm sure it is for many other countries. But earlier I mentioned TIM's competitive spirit, and I don't really know how to put this other than shit's crazy. So gather around the campfire
Yeah.
and let old Papa Alexi give you some IRL lore about my motherland's TV turf war. Today, there are 3 major companies that have television more or less controlled: Televisa, TV Azteca, and Imagen Televisión. With Televisa
Okay.
basically having a monopoly over broadcasting in Mexico.
Yeah, that's
So
the one
how
I
did
know
they get
most.
so much power? Well, it starts off with this great Catholic man, Eugenio Garza Sada, who in 1963 founded TIM. The Garza Sada family were very wealthy and generous brewers, known for their good treatment of their workers, offering them social services and other benefits, instituting crazy ideas like treat others with respect in their workplaces, and giving their employees less hours at work to give them more time at home. Senor Garza Sada was a very intelligent man, studying at MIT in the States while some stuff was going on back home. When he graduated, he was forced to work his way up through the ranks at his family's company, which gave him even more street cred. And the family basically built Monterrey, Mexico's 9th largest city and 2nd largest metropolitan area.
Oh shit,
They were
really?
very respected people, and he even has an award named after him to recognize people and institutions that contribute to the Mexican people's well-being. So here's where it gets crazy, and some of that corruption I was talking about earlier comes into play. TIM started as a radio station, as Eugenio looked toward the future, seeing the trends of the market and finding that the dissemination of information was becoming more and more valuable. Eugenio, correct in his assessment, found immense success even as he transferred into TV. This success, however, wasn't completely clean because by request of the fucking president of Mexico himself, a radio tycoon, Chespirito, joined forces with the Monterrey group as they proceeded to fucking obliterate the competition. Outside of a few local stations, there was only one
Pretty
real
sure.
threat to their seizing of power. And who was this real threat?
Well,
Oh, I don't know, just the guy who had a huge monopoly over TV and put fucking color in it. He didn't invent color TV, but he improved upon the technology so much that it became the standard, or STSC. What Edison did for the light bulbs, this guy did for color TV. Right before TIM
Okay.
started buying stations left
from
and right,
Mexico, I wasn't
Guillermo
expecting that.
González Camarena, who owned Telesistema Mexicano, mysteriously dies in a car crash, leaving them unstable and without a clear vision to continue. TIM eventually joins forces
That was not an accident, I'll tell you that. That's probably not an accident.
with big movie businessman Manuel Barbachano Ponce, where he would affiliate 11 out of the 15 stations he owned with them after finding himself in financial troubles to give them 50% of the Mexican broadcasting territory. With TIM's innovative formats, lovable new faces, the creation of iconic productions, and exporting those
India
materials
Maria.
to other countries in the region, it wouldn't be long before Telesistema lost its hegemony. Even with this newfound success, however, TIM would find itself in a precarious situation after losing money, ratings, and strong advertisers like Procter & Gamble. During this time, talks between Eugenio's nephew and the son of one of the founders of Telesistema Mexicano, both now very influential people of both their families' companies, were taking place, with both television stations being taxed, feed, and seeing more and more losses every quarter. Discussions of a merger were being spread amongst the higher-ups, with some disapproving.
Ooh. So this
A
is
few
more
months
than just
before the
his
merger,
story. This is a whole
Eugenio would be assassinated
television
with
story as a
members
whole.
of the September 23rd Communist League at a red light on his way to work. And another higher up at the company who disagreed with the decision to merge would die just a few days later from heart failure. Supposedly, he had a form of cancer and that caused complications. However, there was never an official autopsy, and the fact that 3 important people who had power and influence just died right before key moments is suspicious, to say the least.
Very
We
suspicious.
don't know whether Eugenio disagreed or not, but with 2 major players in the company gone, the famous or infamous merger would take place in 1973, and they would officially become the most powerful TV conglomerate in Mexican history. And in this same year, after years of hard work, Chespirito would finally get the show that changed.
Okay, we're getting there. Hell yeah. Chespirito. Such a good show. Best intros
The
there
first
ever
episode
was.
premiered on February 26, 1973, to widespread love and
I've
excitement.
never
from the
seen.
general public.
I've never seen I've never seen Don Ramon with that shirt ever. What the hell? Is that the first episode? Holy shit.
On February 26, 1973, to widespread love and excitement from the general public as people were excited to see more of the genius on screen. The show was split into two segments. The first half would be a sketch for one of his other characters, like Chompiras y El Petarete, a criminal duo
really?
who were really bad at their not jobs, and El Chapulín Colorado, a goofy, clumsy, incompetent superhero with a heart of gold that always seemed to save the day one way or another. As El Chavo and many others, he brought joy to people.
He's oh, okay, I think I have a good now. He's basically the Jim Carrey of Mexico, I think, at that time. Without all the extra spatial features. He was very, very physical with his comedy, and I loved it.
Having fun and doing what he loved with people he loved, which I'm sure helped him keep his innocent spirit alive because astonishingly, Chespirito was well into the latter half of his life by this time. But the way he played these characters showed that he had plenty of energy left in the tank. El Chavo follows a poor orphan boy, or Chavo, from apartment number 8. We don't know where his guardians are, and we've never seen his apartment, but where he tends to be most of the time is in a barrel in the common area of the
That's his
apartment
place.
complex,
That's where he
as
lives.
He gets himself and his friends into trouble. One of Chavo's friends was La Chilindrina, played by Maria Antonieta de las Nieves, who played a significant role in his shows and came to be one of the people's most favorite characters, as she would get her own spin-off show years later. Carlos Villagran Eslava, who played Chavo's rival, Kiko, became a part of the show after he impressed Chespirito with his comedic abilities during a party held for his friend, Ruben Aguirre, who played Profesor Girafales. Villagran had the strange ability to inflate his cheeks out of proportion, and this endearing trait would come to be Kiko's signature characteristic.
Oh shit. Okay, I never knew. Okay, I'm learning. So I never knew that he actually inflated them himself. I thought it was something. How does he keep that up the entire show? Oh my god, that is impressive as hell. That is very impressive. Dang.
Vivar, Angelina's endearing trait would come to be
Look at
Kiko's
that.
signature characteristic on the show. Edgar Vivar, Angelinas Fernandez, and Florinda
Bruja.
Mesa would play Señor Barriga, the landlord, Doña Cleotilda, the retired old woman whom the children called La Bruja,
La
and
Bruja.
Doña Florinda, a widowed woman who is at times judgmental to the others in the complex, and Kiko's mom.
She's the
The
Karen
final
of the
member
show.
of the cast is
But we
Don
all love her.
Ramon, played by Ramon Valdez. He's La Chilindrina's father, who's kind-hearted but has a short temper and has explosive emotions. He's constantly disciplining Chavo and his friends for causing trouble, and constantly getting slapped by Florinda for being poor. The show mixed wordplay,
Okay,
gags,
yeah.
slap-
Okay, yeah. I wouldn't put it that way. He getting slapped for being poor. I wouldn't put it that way. He gets slapped for Chavo's I guess misbehaving. I don't know, bro. For being poor. Oh my god. Okay. Sure.
Florinda for being poor. The show mixed wordplay, funny gags,
Yeah.
slapstick, and many other forms of comedy to create a universal and family-friendly experience that everyone could enjoy. So many people across South America came back every week for timeless humor that
I
resonates
did.
with everyone.
I
no
came back
matter
every
where you're
week.
From. How these people he created would get out of or deal with the trouble they got themselves into with downright hilarious jokes that even make me as an American laugh gives you even more reasons to watch. Nobody denies that Chespirito was the mastermind behind the show, but one thing to remember is that everyone pulled their weight and contributed something to it that no other person could. Many of them were well-respected actors and artists prior to their involvement on the show, and all of them were loved by thousands of people. The same cast would play different characters in every work that he did, and the productions just wouldn't be the same without them. He made a comedy the #1 program for years in a country where drama reigns supreme. The telenovela, even to this day, rules TV in all parts of Latin America. Dramas that at times contain some of the worst things people can do to each other. So Bolaños wanted to change that. He wanted to bring an innocent and silly escape for the average man, woman, and child who wants a break from their difficult life. The project was nurtured by passionate craftsmen and women who loved what they did.
I feel like every other show was inspired from him as well.
Known for how strict he can be. This passion, however, seemed to fade over time, and behind the scenes, drama amongst the cast would cause a downward spiral that led to its eventual cancellation 7 years later.
You know, I didn't realize how early this was canceled, considering it was still airing when I was a kid.
Where do we start?
I guess the
Carlos
reruns.
Villagrán leaves the show in 78, at the end of the 6th season, with Ramon Valdez leaving the next year. With two extremely important characters leaving the star-studded cast, Televisa pulls the plug and it's cancelled in 1980. After doing something for 7 years, you might start to like that thing less, and working with people who disagree with your ideas wears you down over time.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's it. Unreconcilable problems caused by creative differences led to two of the major stars of the biggest show in Mexico's history leave before it had a proper finale, right? Well, not exactly. The popularity of El Chavo del Ocho brought an addictive level of fame that Villagrán and De las Nieves couldn't live without, and so they started working as their characters outside of the show, while not owning the rights to them. This, as you could imagine, caused some tension between them and Chespirito, and eventually led to both of them going to court. Villagrán claims to have created the character, and therefore he had the rights to it. However, he lost his lawsuit as the decision went in favor of Bolaños. As a result, Villagrán would move to Argentina, where Bolaños had no rights to Kiko and could continue to work without any fear of legal backlash. Villagrán also claimed to have a romantic relationship with Florinda Mesa, saying that he went to Bolaños for advice to end it, and afterwards she had to go to the hospital to deal with the depression from the breakup. Bolaños and Mesa later became a couple, and this possibly caused even more tension between them. Miss Mesa, of course, denies this ever happening, and said this in response on a talk show in July of 2024.
Carlos se fue porque le ofrecieron algo mejor.
Pero si anduviste con él.
De eso no voy a hablar, principalmente. Tú conociste a Roberto.
Claro.
Un hombre muy inteligente.
Muy. Diosas, nos queríamos mucho.
Me imaginas a mí con un pendejo.
Which was honestly a pretty good comeback to someone trying to say you needed to go to the hospital after they broke up with you. However, the level of ego is unreal. But it wouldn't stop here, because De las Nieves is a masterclass at method acting, because she was a child on set and in real life. De las Nieves in 1994 would approach Televisa with the idea of a spin-off show for her character, to Bolaños' clear and verbal disapproval that Televisa would completely ignore. Bolaños wouldn't win the battle over his character either, because in 2003, De las Nieves would gain the rights to La Chilindrina after a long time of disputing. De las Nieves also called Florinda Mesa a homewrecker, spreading a rumor that Bolaños had an affair with her that led to his divorce with his first wife and mother of his 6 children. These rumors I don't think were ever disputed by the couple either, leading to some people in the general public disliking Mesa more and more. Circling back to Ramon Valdez, his reason for leaving would be very simple. Florinda Mesa saying that, quote,
he couldn't deal with the riffraff anymore.
But this is not to say that Valdez was perfect and didn't at least contribute a little to the chaos on set either. Coworker Ruben Aguirre stated, quote,
Ramon Valdez was hard to work with. There were always delays in tapings because Don Ramon would be late.
And Valdez even had a falling out with Chespirito because he didn't give him 20,000 pesos to buy a house, allegedly. Him leaving El Chavo del Ocho seemed to be the nail in the coffin for the show, but not entirely for their friendship, as it seems they reconciled afterwards, and Don Ramon, after leaving, would appear for one last time to surprise both viewers and cast alike.
Carla, ¿no? Bueno, sale, vale. Yo busco primero. Ándale. Al cabo no está en el barril porque...
No. Tattoo looks too big on him.
¡Ay, papito! ¿Sabes qué, papito? Le voy a avisar a mi bisabuela.
De las Nieves and Ramon Valdez had a real and beautiful relationship that would imitate the roles they played on the show. The character of La Chilindrina cries in a strange and comedic way that's meant to imitate the crying of real children. However, the tears she would shed that day were very real. I'm sure there are many more things
you
that
could
led to
feel
the
it. You could
show's
feel
end,
it. You can
but
feel
the
that.
main one was the drop in ratings.
Feel the
People
tears.
missed Don Ramon and people missed Kiko. They wanted the characters they had come to love more and more over the years to stay, and that just couldn't be done. The show was supposed to give people a break from dramas, but came to be one behind the scenes, and this would severely affect the quality.
It's like taking
They
peanut
tried to
butter
fill
from
a
peanut
void
butter
that
and
couldn't
jelly.
be filled, and it was impossible to keep it going in the state it was in. After 8 seasons and 312 episodes, the final one would air on January 7th, 1980, never giving the ending the people wanted and needed from their favorite show. Maybe Bolaños was too controlling over his baby. Maybe Bolaños did in fact cheat on his wife with Mesa. Maybe he didn't give Ramon money for the wrong reasons. Maybe not letting his friends play their characters outside of the show was actually him being a bad friend, and maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the saint everyone thinks he is. We don't really know every detail of what happened, and we'll never know with 100% certainty who's telling the truth. All we can know is that something happened to cause this family to break and never really talk to each other again afterwards. Human beings are flawed and fallen creatures, so honestly, two things could be true at once. Bolaños could be a saint, but he could also have done some terrible things. No human being is perfect, and we are all capable of more evil than we realize. That we can know with certainty.
Es el objetivo principal, divertir.
I mean, no one's a saint per se. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, he might have had his flaws. Yeah, but I mean, he did make an amazing TV show. That we can all agree on. He made an amazing TV show, sitcom, whatever you want to call it. And it was awesome. It was amazing. It was hilarious. I mean, yeah, maybe that came with backlash from the cast and all of that, but I still feel like it was his creation. I get the fact that, you don't want to tear apart your vision. Others might want to add some things that you might think, oh, it's not my vision. It's not what I want it to be. I get that. But I guess being ignored would eventually get to you, You're just trying to make it better, maybe, and you not being heard in the studio might make you want to quit. I get all of that, but like I said, it was an amazing show. Glad it even aired for that long. We got a lot of episodes. He changed a lot of people's lives just because of it. I mean, I know for me, I love that show. It's an amazing show. One of the greatest memories, like I've mentioned, that I have is watching that show. And I have him to thank for that. Whether how it came to be, I don't really care at this point. It's been so freaking long that, yeah, I at this point we'll never know what happened there. But yeah, it's an awesome show.
Si adicionalmente podemos dar un mensaje, lo hacemos. Ya hay un mensaje en que no haya nada negativo, pero el objetivo es divertir. Mientras vemos la sonrisa de un niño y entendemos que ese niño estuvo X tiempo a la semana contento, olvidando sus problemas. Los niños tienen muchos problemas y los grandes también. Gracias a nosotros ya nos sentimos totalmente pagados.
Yeah, see, there he is. He said it. As long as, he made me smile. He made me more than smile, bro. I thank him for that. Thank you for making me smile. You made my childhood one of the best childhoods I ever had. Not gonna lie.
Chespirito's life ended on Friday, the 28th of November in 2014. Parkinson's disease
I
had
remember
caused
that.
complications, and it took him at 2:30 p.m. A private funeral was held for his close friends and family, and Villagrán even attended and seemed to reconcile with Florinda Mesa, telling the Latin Times, quote,
"It was so important for me to be there, with a friend, teacher, and companion. We were a tight family at one point. we had no resentments.
The sadness was felt all across the world, and following the death of a legend, they gave him a parade in his honor.
A legend,
40,000
bro.
fans showed up that day to pay their respects in person, with some dressed as their favorite characters to commemorate their hero. With millions more watching the proceeding at home, his body was laid to rest in the Panteón Francés in Mexico City, putting an end to his story. Chespirito showed the power of the love he had for everyone, and even brought people together in celebration of a life well lived after his death. Professor Girafales died 2 years later. Doña Cleotilda died in 94. Ramon Valdez died in 88. Kiko gave his last live performance and retired the character in Rio de Janeiro. Florinda Mesa is retired, looking after the Bolaños estate and taking care of the show. De las Nieves is still in her bullshit. And Edgar Riva
What?
went to work on other projects and hasn't said much, if anything, on his time in the limelight. Looking at an unreleased Chilean interview shows just how close everyone truly was with each other. The energy in the room is happy, peaceful, and loving as they listen to their idol answer the reporters' questions. I wish they could have stayed like this. Chespirito changed the world more than anyone could have ever imagined, and he did it with a TV show.
Yep.
He wanted to speak to the average person. He wanted to give people a break. He wanted to make people smile and laugh. He did it humble, faith-driven, in the name of love, and he's helped more than he could ever know. People like my mother. My mom is my hero and hasn't had the easiest life. But when she watches this show, when we watch it together, we laugh a lot. And to see her like that, even if it's just for those 20 minutes, makes this billion-dollar IP priceless to me.
Yep.
So, from the bottom of this broken, hardened, and sinful heart, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's such an amazing show. Yeah, it's so good. I actually almost nearly teared up. I've teared up a little bit, but it's just such an amazing show. I could go on forever talking about it. Like like I mentioned before, it did change my life. Like I love this show. What it represented, what it showed. It's so fucking hilarious, bro. It was so funny. I remember as a kid, bro, I used to watch it with my parents as well. Like he said, yeah, when we watch it together, we're always laughing. We forget the world exists, and all we watch and all we know is this world that they're living in this little I guess it's not really an apartment. It's like yeah, they're like in an apartment complex stuff, and they're just fooling around, goofing around. One's not paying the rent. The other one's up is obsessed with the with another person. I don't know. It's just so fucking amazing how that one person or could grab a group of people and just create a masterpiece like that. And yeah, I like to give my thanks as well. Thank you for creating this masterpiece that changed lives. I know it did because here I am. I love that show. Yeah, thank you guys for staying here, reacting to this. Leave the link to the original video down below. Go check it out. Leave a like and subscribe for more, reactions and gameplay. I kind of want to react to an actual episode eventually, to actually show more of this of the show because it is hilarious, non-stop laughing. So yeah, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys later.